just fine. Gonna open up this life to the left.
This video, hold on, where is it?
One goal.
Yes, 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 yes. So y'all, there's this comic book, and the people that made this comic book are the same people that made The Boys, right? And apparently it's getting an adaptation. I don't know when it's coming out. We don't have a trailer, we don't have nothing, but there is some word that this series is gonna get an adaptation. It is called, well, from what I seen, it was called The Cross, but the video over here says Cross, so I'm gonna just say Crossed. It's called Crossed. You probably haven't heard of it, but it has like a little, I don't want to say little because I don't know really how big it is, but it has a niche audience, right? And of course it has to be some type of big if it's gonna get an adaptation, you know. There's a fan base there, but this comic book is pretty damn bad, like pretty damn bad. Like, this comic book makes The Boys look tame. I'm trying to get into it. They're gonna explain the how depraved it is. I'm intrigued. I want to watch a video about the topic, so let's see it, man. The most depraved comic book ever made, Crossed.
This story has violence, depravity, just any taboo that you can think of.
It's just depravity. There's no humor in it, and it might be a little too much even for me.
I wanted it to be genuinely horrifying. I didn't want it, I said this on the panel earlier, I never wanted Cross to be something that could be watered down, lightened up.
Remember YouTube? Those are the first two words of a comic book series known as Crossed. Soon after this, a bloody man walks into a diner with a severed hand and places it on the counter. The man who manages the diner thinks it's some kind of a prank and tries to kick him out. But when the man bites the manager's neck, the entire diner realizes that this is anything but a prank. They are about to face a very harsh reality. The reason our main character, Stan, is remembering YouTube is because it is a relic of the world he lives in, and it reminds him of a simpler time. Outside there are explosions, shooting, and fighting. The streets are filled with infected people, and the end of the world is coming at a rapid rate.
This is what I was expecting from the end of The Boys.
It is a story that has the makings of a zombie apocalypse, but immediately within the first few panels, we start to notice that something is off. The infected seem to be conscious and have an understanding of what they are doing. We quickly learn that they are able to speak, drive, and use weaponry. One of the infected is flying and operating a plane. They have motor skills, memories, and motivations. See, Crossed is not a story about a zombie apocalypse. It is a story about a people apocalypse. The infection does not turn them into mindless zombies that slowly try to bite people. In fact, it makes their mind even more active, and it targets the part of the brain that is usually dormant, the part that makes them act out their most atrocious thoughts. A person who is infected does not care about themselves. They only care about inflicting the most pain possible. They know.
Boy, you motherfucker evil, man. Do y'all see what I'm looking at right here? Boy, this is the last thing you see before you get chopped into a million pieces and sent to Saskatchewan.
Know who their family and friends were, and will often actively seek them out to torture them and eventually convert them into one of their own. Unlike a group of zombies that has one goal, the Crossed have a unique set of goals in their mind. Different victims, different ambitions, and different methods of killing. The one thing they have in common is a scar in the shape of a cross and a wide grin that they wear on their faces. It is one of the bleakest worlds ever put onto paper. The concept alone is nightmare fuel, and today we're going to go through the original Cross series. It was illustrated by Jason Burrows, and it was written by Garth Ennis, the same man who co-created comics like Preacher and The Boys. If you're familiar with those series, then you know that he doesn't pull any punches.
Is Preacher bad? I haven't heard of it.
When it comes to violent and extreme content, but this is on another level entirely. There are 9 issues, as well as the introduction we just talked about. By talking about these issues, we'll figure out how these characters navigate such a dark world, how the Crossed separate themselves from any other fictional infected characters, and why this series has gotten the infamous reputation that it has. The first issue is set 10 months after the introduction. We are introduced to a group of characters that have survived the initial outbreak. They are holed up in a cave they have taken refuge in, but
how do you survive this?
It's clear from a lot of the dialogue that this is
Or
not
not
a
get infected,
permanent
I mean.
residence. The group sneaks around from place to place, doing anything they can to avoid the crossed. One of the earliest interactions we see is with a character named Joel, sitting next to his wife and daughter. He's talking about a slightly strange topic, salt. He's claiming that one day he was running away from one of the crossed in a nearby shop when all of a sudden they tripped and fell into a stack of salt. This caused the cross to lose its mind even more, and Joel grabbed a nearby bag of salt before running out of the shop. He assumes that this is the answer. Salt is their weakness, and it will kill them if they are exposed to it. The group are
Like they some slugs or something.
understandably skeptical about this, and Stan, who doesn't seem to have that much time for Joel, calls him out. They argue for a while, and eventually the conversation fizzles out. At this point, we get a flashback to the day of the outbreak. We see Stan, who's accompanied by Thomas and Kelly. Kelly has been blinded by the infected, and it looks like the three of them are in serious trouble. They are attacked by a crossed, but are saved by Cindy, who is with her son, Patrick. Ever since, Cindy has become the de facto leader of this group. She is clearly the most capable,
Shout
and
out
without
Cindy.
her, it's very unlikely that the survivors would have lasted
She like
this
Lily in
long.
Walking Dead.
After this, the group have to leave the cave because they hear something in the distance. Unfortunately, their suspicions are correct, and it is the crossed. The group begin to run away, but Amy, the wife of Joel, snaps her ankle while she tries to flee.
Ooh!
She begs Joel to take their daughter and escape, but Joel refuses. Instead, he creates a circle of salt around his family and hopes that it is truly their weakness. Unfortunately, this is a lost cause, and in the next panel, the crossed walk past the line of salt and attack Joel's family. The next panel is so graphic that I can't even show you, but in it, Amy screams at Joel in anger. She's not even focused on the crossed and what they're doing. She uses her last words to curse out her husband, and it is extremely dark. Stan thinks about looking back through his binoculars, but is warned not to. A piece of advice
Boy,
he
watch
wisely
out.
takes on board. It is only the first issue, but it shows us that anything can happen. Nobody is safe, and this is a truly cruel, cruel world.
And that was only part 1?
The second issue begins, and we see that the group are holed up in the basement of an old abandoned house. They are talking to another survivor, Randall, who says that New York is flooded, Texas has been completely taken over, and that the Canadian military tried to
These motherfuckers don't have hands. Yo, watch out. Yo, watch out, bro. I'm gonna keep it so real, bro. Like, I know they're crazy, but like in a fight, right? Let's just say, right? You're fighting it. Okay, so you're fighting a crazy man, right? Crazy person, right? But if they're lacking a hand, then they're still like, I don't know. I feel like, nah, because it would eat you though. Like, when you're that crazy, every part of your body is a weapon, bruh. Like, they would just headbutt you, like, just for the fun of it. Like, they wouldn't care about no concussion, no nothing. They don't care. I'm blitzing. I'm keeping it so real with y'all, bro. I'm blitzing. All these guys are getting smoked. I'm keeping it so
fight
real.
back, but ultimately failed. Their best bet is
Keeping it
probably
real.
Alaska, but finding a part of the border they can cross safely is the real issue. Randall also informs the group that he saw the crossed recently, and that they did something strange. He said he saw them get out of a car and start to attack one of their own. The victim of the attack was laughing and enjoying themselves, and Randall says it's possible that they have so much evil in themselves that if they can't get it out by killing humans, they will simply kill their own. It is a dark thought, but it's interrupted by Cindy, who informs the group that they have to leave. It turns out that another survivor,
Cindy got ore.
Jeff,
I like
has
her.
blown their cover by trying to bury the bones of the previous owners in the garden. He wanted to do this out of respect, but this little bit of
W. Jeff.
humanity has more than likely alerted the cross to their whereabouts, and they have to exit through the back of their house to escape. Unfortunately,
Damn,
while
can
this
they
is
smell
happening,
happiness?
Randall is shot through his shoulder by the crossed. They narrowly escape and set up camp in some nearby woods, where they tend to Randall, who's worse for wear despite the bullet going through his shoulder cleanly. Within only a few hours, it appears as if he's fallen into some kind
The
of
arts
a
are
coma,
solid.
which is very strange considering the nature of his injury. While this is happening, Cindy and Stan go to the top of a hill to see the cross through their binoculars. They notice that
Like, the art style is like, it's solid. It's rough too, but I think that's to show like the scale of the world. You know, it's just there's no pretty. It's not pretty. You know, not much color.
They're
Rough
doing
around the
something quite
edges.
strange. I will spare you some of the details here, but they're standing in a circle
I like
playing
the
a
art.
sort of
Shit's tough.
game. Through watching this, Cindy and Stan realize that the crossed have been infecting the bullets, the same bullets that they used to shoot Randall. They run back to camp to try and warn the others, but it's too late. Randall has turned into a crossed, and he begins to chase Kelly through the woods. Right before he gets to her, Cindy shoots Randall, and the group have to quickly leave the woods. It's obvious that the crossed are getting smarter. They're getting even more aggressive, and they will do absolutely anything to feed that aggression. In issue number 3, the group are in the middle of a town square, and the crossed are getting close. All of a sudden, the crossed get distracted by something, and they start to leave the town square. Wisely, the group decides to do the same thing. This is when Scott, one of the survivors, sees a can of beans on the ground and he quickly goes to pick it up. He falls straight into a bear trap. His screams are interrupted by a bullet and he is killed. The group see a person on a nearby rooftop and begin to shoot at them. They fall to the ground and are on the verge of dying before another group starts to approach the wounded shooter. This group are all children, and the person on the ground explains that she used to be their kindergarten teacher. They were still in school when the outbreak began, and she's been taking care of them ever since. She killed Scott because he was going to alert the crossed with his screams, and she couldn't take that chance. She also says, shouldn't hit a big group like you, but kids so hungry, which is a curious statement to say the least. The kids tell Stan and his group to stay away from her, and it's obvious that this has become a series of unfortunate events that now put the group in a very difficult situation. They end up back at the kids' camp where Miss Cook, the teacher, is dying. She explains that she taught the kids how to survive by killing other people and eating them. It is the only way they were able to get by. She begs Cindy and the rest not to blame the children, and the group have a very difficult decision to make. This is a group of cannibalistic children that now have no leader. They do not have the resources to take the children with them, and it is very unlikely that they would last longer than a month without Miss Cook. Some of the group do not like where this conversation is going, but there are others that understand. It has been almost a year at this stage. They've seen the world for what it really is. We get a flashback where we see the group staring at a highway that's been completely destroyed, and just by staring at this single panel, we know a group of kids are not going to be surviving in this world by themselves. Cindy makes the final decision, and while the group waits outside, she enters their camp to do what the others can't. Stan decides that she shouldn't be doing this alone and goes into the camp to assist her. Some people might think that they're sparing these children from an extremely harsh world, and others might think that they are cold.
Yo, this story is depressing, bro. Damn. Yo, if they are adapting this into like a movie, a show, whatever, they gonna have to tone down a lot of this. That's crazy.
Blooded killers. But that's what makes this universe so interesting. We've seen other post-apocalyptic worlds tackle this exact issue, but rarely do we see such a quick, calculated, and cold resolution. We are only on the 3rd issue, but already a decision like this is at the very least understandable. In any other world, you would think Cindy and Stan are monsters, but in this world, it is a lot more complex than that. And in a lot of ways, you can see the rationale behind their decision. In the final panel, Cindy tells Stan that she appreciates him doing this with her, and the issue ends there. In the 4th issue, we see the group making travel plans in an old apartment building. Cindy and Stan talk about what they did and realize that they're probably not the most popular people in the group right now. They decide to go on the rooftop to do their...
Come on, bro. Talking about some would I survive this? Boy, I would survive this. Hey, I would survive. Hell out of this shit, man. I would just do... Bro, I would just... Okay, let me actually think of a situation to survive. Because, of course... I want to be a macho man and say, bro, I'm gonna just fight and just survive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna guess the whole planet's like this, right? It's not just a country. It's not just a city. It's the whole world, right? Yo, knowing me, bro, I'm going to Antarctica. I'm about to make a base. About to take my family there, you know what I'm saying? Lock in, bro. Whole lot of food, whole lot of everything, bro. We're just gonna survive on Antarctica. And if we get super hungry, boom, we got polar bears. Boom, we got seals. We get to cooking. That will last for about 50 years. After that, it's not my job no more. It's for my children. I don't know, bro. I don't know what I would do in this situation, bro. If this was to actually happen, shoo, you just have to fight back, you know.
Watch, and while they're out there,
what would you do in this situation if you're in this? I don't even know, bro. You would die instantly. Boy,
they see a crossed with an interesting name.
What?
He appears to be the leader of a group of infected that seems
Oh,
surprisingly.
he built big as hell. Look at compare his size to the people over here. Oh yeah, this roadhog.
Organized. We see them making plans, showing restraint, and generally obeying their leader's commands. We know that the Crossed have been evolving, but this group appear to be the most intelligent and well-organized group that we've seen yet. A fact that Cindy does not like, especially because the survivors have to cross a bridge in the middle of the city. Regardless of their concerns, they decide to sneak out in the middle of the night, and they attempt to cross the bridge. They have to walk across a metal plank because the bridge is cut in half, and while this is happening, the Crossed starts to approach them. They realize that the group of infected are using one of their own as a means to find survivors. They call it Stump, an appropriate name considering they've cut out its tongue and blinded it so that it can use its oversized ears to hear any nearby survivors.
What? Wait. Why did you have to cut out his... Wait, what?
Survivors. They call it Stump, an appropriate name considering they've cut out its tongue and blinded it so that it can use its oversized ears to hear any nearby survivor.
Why did you have to remove his eyes and his tongue for him to use his ears? I'm just trying to I'm trying to put the pieces together, and it's not going in. The puzzle piece is not it's not fitting. What? He could have kept his tongue and his eyes for hearing. God bless this poor bastard, man.
This is how they find Cindy and Stan's group, and it shows that they are just as organized and evil as the group initially thought. While they are trying to cross the bridge, one of the survivors, Sheena, falls over and is hanging on.
You know, I could low-key see that, right? Because I know, like, let's say Daredevil, right? Daredevil has enhanced, like, hearing, and it's boosted by the fact that he is also blind. So I'll take that. Why did you have to remove his tongue? Like, if it was just eyes, I'd be like, okay, all of his focus going to his ears, sure. But the tongue, though, I don't understand why he can't talk.
By the side of the bridge, while
that seemed mad random.
They are just as organized and evil as the group initially thought. While they are trying to cross the bridge, one of the survivors, Sheena, falls over and is hanging on by the side of the bridge while the Crossed approaches her. It's at this point that Sheena voluntarily falls to her death. It's obvious that she would rather die than become infected. The group of Crossed get to the other side of the bridge and start to tell Cindy and Stan that they're going to get them. This is probably the last group you'd want following you in a situation like this. A motivated group that have an actual leader, a tool that helps them find any nearby survivors, and are actually able to organize and make plans. But that's exactly what's happened. And unfortunately for the survivors, this will not be the last time we see this group of Crossed.
Damn.
We're about to reach the halfway point of the story, and the group are in the Rockies in the middle of winter. Issue 5 doesn't advance the story that much, but it gives us some updates about what the group are currently up to. The previously mentioned...
You know, this would be a sick concept for a video game. Like, off rip. Like, a Last of Us style, like... I could see it. It would be pretty dope.
Jeff and another survivor named Kittrick are on their last legs. The group are anxious that they might not make it, and there's some discussion about potentially eating them if they do pass. They discuss this very flippantly, which is both disturbing and slightly comical. They approach the issue in an almost light-hearted fashion. We see a flashback where we see Thomas and Stan having an honest conversation, and we can tell that they've been pretty close since the beginning. After this, Stan goes to check on Cindy, and we see that Cindy and Patrick are quietly observing some wolves. For the first time since the start of the outbreak, Stan ponders if maybe there is some good that has come from this.
Look at the wolves, man. Beautiful.
There are less Crossed than ever before. There are less people than ever before.
Beautiful like the night sky.
and nature is being reclaimed by the vegetation and the animals. Of course, this is just a fleeting thought, but it's a nice one that gives Stan a moment of peace. Issue number 6 starts and we can tell that any calm moments have come to a close. The group are huddled by a nearby road, waiting for a group of cross.
Wait, I just realized too. If you remove his tongue, how is he supposed to tell y'all where they are? Because, like, okay, he got these big ass ears, so he's hearing a lot. But, like, without the tongue, he's just gonna. How does he writes it down?
To pass them by. Another infected person walks behind these crossed and they kill him, further cementing the idea that they will occasionally turn on each other if there aren't any humans to kill. After the infected is killed, its body drops right in front of Stan, who was a little bit shocked. After the crossed leave, a character we haven't met before, Brett, makes fun of Stan for getting scared. Stan describes him as the biggest prick he's ever met, but he's had a big stash of food and gear that the group needed, and all he wanted was to tag along with the rest of the gang. Jeff and Kittrick are seemingly doing—
I don't trust nothing about him, bro. You're saying that you are by yourself, you have a lot of food, you have all of that, and you're by yourself? No. I don't know. And you just want to be part of the group? I don't know.
A lot better. We learned that Jeff got better first and then proceeded to help Kittrick get out of his slump by feeding him and keeping him warm. We also learned Kittrick's backstory. He saw his family die by the hands of the crossed and only just about managed to escape. Ever since, he has barely spoke a word, and it seemed like he wouldn't get out of this depressive episode in the Rockies, so the fact that Jeff was able to help him out of it says a lot. After this, the group argue about how they should get to Alaska, and they decide the best way to avoid the border would be to cut through the desert in Nevada. Stan then goes outside and sees a dog who has not been infected. He tells himself he's not going to take the dog with him, and then immediately takes the dog with him. Later, the group are sitting by a campfire, and Jeff starts talking about how nice all of this is. He starts to open up, saying how lonely he was and how he never really fit in with anybody else. He talks about the dark thoughts he used to have, and the group are very compassionate as they listen to his story. He then says that he used to lure young men and women into his house, kill them, and bury them.
Bro, read the room. What just happened? What? We're having a wholesome moment, having fun. Bro, what? This is your icebreaker? What? Really? Really, bitch?
Underneath his basement. The group are stunned. They sit in silence for a few seconds. Cindy tells Patrick to get behind her, and the group start to take a few steps back. Jeff pleads with them to understand that this was in the past and he wouldn't hurt any of them. They are the only friends he's ever had.
Boy, I don't trust anyone who could do that. Ever.
And he only told them this because he trusts them. Kittrick is the only person to speak up. He tells Jeff it'll be okay. The two of them take a walk into the woods together, and only Kittrick comes back. A few days later, they start to make their way to Nevada with one less person in their group.
I had to smoke him, man. I had to smoke him. Cause like, what do you mean?
The 7th issue begins and immediately we see some familiar faces. The group of crossed from the city have kept their word and managed to track the group all the way to Nevada. For the next 2 days, the group quickly—
Boy, what do they eat? It's like when you're across, you just— like these motherfuckers eat dirt.
Navigate around the desert, only
eat a rock,
getting a few hours of sleep. At first, they manage to outrun the infected, but while they are crossing a river, Kittrick gets shot in the arm. The group of crossed have found
not my goat.
And while the survivors try to fight back, Cindy's son Patrick falls into the river, taking him downstream.
Patrick, don't play with me, bro. Get up.
They narrowly survive this attack, but Cindy's only concern is her son, who they initially believe is still alive. It's around this time that they hear the crossed on their walkie-talkie. Stan must have dropped it in the crossfire, and the infected are now using it to try and convince the group that they actually have Patrick. Cindy starts to run back towards where they were, but Kittrick asks the Crossed to put Patrick on the line. They respond by saying that they've now killed Patrick, but the group knows that they've called their bluff, and they were more than likely just trying to lure Cindy towards them. At this stage, the group see a number of infected come out of the river. We're not sure if it's stragglers from the bigger group or another batch entirely, but either way, the group do not care. They're tired of running, and they decide to take the fight to them. The infected have no weapons of their own, so
let it bust.
Cindy and the rest are able to dispatch them pretty easily. She then sees somebody else in the distance, and it appears to be Patrick. His back is turned to her as she runs towards him, but when he turns around,
oh, he's gonna be infested. He's gonna be infected. He's gonna have the shit on his face. Ooh, no.
Cindy's biggest fear has come true. Patrick is infected. He only gets one crude line out before Cindy shoots him. She doesn't think twice about it. She knows what she had to do. Afterwards, she
this comic is depressing, bro. Oh my god.
She stares blankly in the distance and stays like that for the next few minutes. The Crossed use the walkie-talkie again. This time they are not saying anything. They're just laughing. The group thought they had called their bluff, but it was all an elaborate plan so that Cindy would have to see her son as one of them. We know that this group of Crossed are able to plan things out, but we didn't know to what extent. We now know exactly what the group are dealing with, and after the loss of Patrick, it is going to be an
They ran into the wrong ones, man. These guys are like a pack of like 20 Jokers. Okay, you would have thought Joker was you would have thought one Joker was enough. This Joker, this team, these motherfuckers going against the Avengers of Evil.
Uphill battle, to say the least.
Like, what
we are now
mean?
on the second last
That's...
issue, and
oh
it goes without saying that the mood is very somber. The rain is...
Mind you, they could have just killed the kid. They could have, but nope.
Pouring down. Cindy has barely been speaking since she lost Patrick, and the group needs somewhere to stay. They find an old military helicopter and decide to spend the night there. Brett is still getting on Stan's nerves. They get into a fight about Cindy, and Brett insinuates that Stan is only upset because she doesn't want to sleep with him. The two almost start fighting because of this, but Kittrick breaks them up. Later in the day, Stan finds a journal from the captain of the crew that used to man the ship, and it reveals a disturbing story. The captain talks about how he was tasked with a complicated mission. His job was to fly out a group of nuclear specialists to 2 different reactors, where they would make sure that the reactors were completely useless to anybody who tried to use them. His next job was to fly them into the desert. They weren't told why they were needed there, but it turns out that they were being brought into the middle of the desert to be executed. The logic was that if they knew how to operate nuclear weapons in their past life, they would still know how to do it if they were infected, so rather than take that chance, they were killed. It's likely that this was done to most of the nuclear specialists in America, and this is why there's still some semblance of a world left. It's a mission that weighs heavily on the captain. He knows it has to be done, but he still has regrets. After this, the helicopter's engine was blown off in a storm, and the chopper had to land in a random part of the desert, the same place that Stan is reading this journal. The captain broke his legs and told the rest of the crew to go on without him, a demand they begrudgingly accepted. Stan finishes reading the journal, and the next day, the storm is gone. The group travel for a couple of days, with Cindy staying in complete silence. While the group are camping out, Stan's dog starts to annoy Brett, and he kicks him. Stan tells him to stop, but he does it again, and without saying a word, Stan gets up and shoots Brett, killing him instantly. Nobody says anything about this. They just continue forward, but it's not just Cindy that's silent anymore. Is
that valid though? Not valid, but like, you was kicking the dog, and then he told you not to, and then you kicked it again. Boy, this comic is crazy.
The entire group. Eventually, Stan plucks up the courage to talk to Cindy, and he tells her that she should go back to where Patrick is and bury him. She initially dismissed this idea, but Stan doubles down by saying that he
don't kick my dog though. That's one thing for sure though. I'm gonna just say that right, bro. I've never had a dog before, but I just know, like, I couldn't imagine, like, I'll use for example my cat, you know, RP to my cat, you know what I'm saying? Inuyasha RP. But for example, back when I had my cat, right? If anybody was to have hurt my cat I don't care if my peripheral catches it. I don't care if it happens behind me and I hear it, like old buddy with the big ears. I don't care, bro. If I hear it, and my bond with my bond with Inuyasha was so tough. Boy, at nighttime, I would be like, yo, you good? He would talk to me. I'm being dead ass. You might think I'm lying, but yo, he would talk to me. He would dead ass tell me things. So he would tell me, and I'd be like, I bet tomorrow I'm about it. And then boom, any issue that happened, I fix it up. Wakes up like a prince.
Feels like they are losing their humanity. The thing that separates them from the Crossed is their ability to feel sorrow, regret, and empathize with other people. But now Stan is able to kill somebody on a whim, and he worries that by the time they get to Alaska, there won't be anything left of them. They'll be empty shells of their former selves with very little humanity to protect. This seemingly convinces...
Considering you just killed a man for kicking your dog, I feel like your sense of humanity has already plundered. Like, it's looking pretty bad.
Cindy, and the two of them decide to go back. Kittrick, Kelly, and Thomas decide to go forward, and Stan advises them to stop at a number of places where they can eventually meet up again. Unfortunately, the last thing that Stan says is, "That was not the last time I saw Thomas, but it is the way I like to remember him." The final issue begins, and we see that Stan and Cindy have made it back to Patrick safely. Cindy buries her son, breaking down in tears while she says goodbye to him.
She actually went back?
A rare moment of emotion from her, and I can imagine it's been brewing up for quite some time. After this, the two of them end up at a church where they talk about what they've had to do to get where they are. Cindy says that it's for the best that they did this. In the next panel, we're reunited with Kittrick, Kelly, and Thomas. They're walking through the woods, and they haven't yet been able to reconnect with Stan and Cindy. Kittrick stops the other two to give them an unfortunate bit of news. The group of Cross that have been following them for the last few months are behind them again, and Kittrick tells the other two to go on without him. He doesn't want to be alive anymore, and he wants to go out fighting. He kneels down in the middle of a field and...
Not my goat! No!
Waits for the Cross to see him. When they do, he starts to shoot at them, but it's not long until they catch up with him. One of the Crossed tries to infect Kittrick, but their leader stops them, saying that they should go after the others. Another moment of restraint that the other Cross don't usually possess. Kelly and Thomas run through the woods.
I wonder why they did that. I mean, they're smart, really smart. Whoa.
But right when they think they've made it out of harm's way, they are swarmed by the Crossed. They are both knocked to the ground, and the leader is about
Damn, how fast are they?
To infect Kelly until Thomas jumps at him and bites his neck, killing him in a gruesome and oddly fitting...
Ooh, hold on, bro. That boy is Rick Grimes. Hold on.
Until Thomas jumps at him and bites his neck, killing him in a gruesome and oddly fitting fashion.
Imagine how he tastes. Like, yo, forget the bite, right? Imagine how they smell. Like, bro, I'd be scared to put my teeth on that. What the hell?
Thomas's got...
Actually, I don't know, bro. You might just have to remove your teeth. Your teeth infested, bro.
Guidance, Kelly then shoots and kills Stump, the tool that the Crossed use to track other survivors. Despite his bravery, Thomas is now infected, but Kelly doesn't know this. She tells him to shoot her and run away from the rest of the Crossed that are now closing in on them. Thomas knows he's only a few minutes away from turning into one of them, and if he leaves Kelly on...
Oh, it's because he has the blood in his mouth.
On her own, she will also be turned into one of the Crossed. He takes her hand, proclaiming that he'd never leave her, and together, the two of them jump off a nearby cliff.
Yo, what is the point of being happy, yo? Is there a happy point in this story, yo? I was waiting for like that one little... Yo, where's the beach episode, man? Like, we're... Wow. I mean, damn. I gotta give salutes to the author, the person who wrote it, whatever. I gotta give salutes, bro. They weren't lying. They said they didn't want anything watered down. Nothing watered down in this story, bro. You get it right to the chin. I mean, damn.
And if he leaves Kelly on her own, she will also be turned into one of the Crossed. He takes her hand, proclaiming that he'd never leave her, and together, the two of them jump off a nearby cliff. We've seen a lot of deaths in this story, but it's fair to argue that this is the most noble one. Thomas was able to single-handedly kill the most powerful Crossed we've seen so far, and Kelly was able to kill their most valuable tool. Yeah. Most importantly, Thomas kept the oath that he made to Kelly at the beginning, and stayed by her side until the very end. Cindy and Stan are nearby. They heard the ruckus that Kittrick made, and Cindy saw what happened to Thomas and Kelly through her binoculars. In a defeated fashion, Stan recommends that they wait a day or two before they sneak past across, but Cindy has other ideas. She thinks that the two of them should attack them while they're weak. Their leader is gone and they're unorganized, but they have spent a lot of time with the smartest Cross that we've ever seen, and it's likely that they learned a lot of valuable information that would make them even more dangerous.
Yeah, the next time you see them, well, now they actually have a vendetta because you killed their leader. Like before, it was just like, yeah, we're just gonna poke at y'all, but now it's like they're super smart. There's a group of others that they can get into contact with, all that. I think I'm with Sydney right now. The only reason why I wouldn't be is because there's only 2 of them. Yeah, it's only the 2 of them versus a pack of what, maybe 10 of them? How much is there, y'all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's a diff. That's a diff.
Seen, and it's likely that they learned a lot of valuable information that would make them even more dangerous than your typical infected if they passed it on to each other. Cindy's logic is actually quite similar to what we saw earlier in the comic, when the military captain had to kill the nuclear specialists because of what they knew, except now the tables have been turned. Stan doesn't initially like this idea, but eventually he comes around, and the two of them grab their guns and perch on a nearby hill. We've seen them in this exact position multiple times. In fact, the very first panel of the very first issue looks eerily similar to this, except now they're not trying to avoid them. They're not running anymore. It shows the change in their mindset. They don't want to live in a world where they're constantly hiding, and they want to take the fight to them, which is exactly what they do. They shoot at them from a distance, picking them off one by one, and as this happens, Stan has a realization. He says the following: "There was no great secret to the Crossed. I'd never seen one do anything a human being couldn't think of doing, hadn't thought of doing, hadn't done. They were all the awful aspects of humanity magnified 100,000-fold, but they were nothing more. Where did they come from? Us. They were every brute, every sadist, every renderer and torturer, every ethnic cleanser, serial murderer, zealot, tyrant, holy killer, every terrorist and every bomber, every smirking criminal in office, every cruel parent who should have never had kids, and every bad debasing thing that men and women have to do to deal with evil. The marks left slashed across our souls. While this epiphany is..."
Hold on, this writing is fire. The fuck? Yo, that boy was writing the script. House lit on fire. What the hell?
Happening, Cindy and Stan managed to kill every single one of the Crossed. They walk to the top of another hill, seeing the wilderness of Alaska in the distance. They still don't really know where they're going or if this is the right track, but at the very least they know that when they get there, they will have a shred of humanity left inside of them, the thing that separates them from the Crossed. We see one final panel of Cindy holding Stan's hand as they walk into the unknown, and the story comes to an end. It's hard to describe it as a happy ending. Every single survivor in the original...
I like that ending. I like that ending. I'm keep it so real. Keep it so real. I don't know. I also don't know if it's a happy ending, but damn, that was a hopeful ending. And they stood on business. Yeah, I'm with it.
The group is dead with the exception of Stan and Cindy. Some of them died a hero's death, but most of them died in horrific and cruel ways. But despite all of the hardships, the carnage, and the evil things we've been exposed to, we're left with a singular moment of hope. Two people who kept going, holding hands with each other as they tried to live another day. Crossed is a brutal world, possibly the most brutal we've ever discussed, and for a lot of people, it might simply seem like an endless barrage of torture and carnage. But behind the depravity is a stark reminder that what separates the Crossed from the survivors is the empathy they feel, the connection they have to other people, and the love they have for one another. Throughout the story, we see a lot of that humanity slip away, but ultimately we see Stan and Cindy fight against it instead of giving into it. They too could have played into their most evil thoughts, and at times they showed signs of doing so, but realizing their regret and recognizing their own humanity gave them the courage to fight back and live on. Again, it is not a happy ending, but it's a somewhat hopeful one, and in a world this bleak, a small sliver of hope is all you can really ask for. And in the case of our final 2 survivors, it might just about be enough.
I like that. I like that, bro. I liked it. Yeah. Whenever that adaptation comes out, bro, I'm here for it, bro. I'm here. I'm gonna be watching like, yo, okay, I can't be watching this. Yo, if they're gonna keep that energy, that it's gonna be a hard watch. But damn, I liked it. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but this is not a bad video. Yeah, why am I not surprised it's written by Garfanis? Good video though. Damn, crossed. W comic, man. W comic.